It's April 2020. Smithfield Township, PA. We're shut down during the pandemic, but a few of us have gathered here to tell you about an idea that can't wait. The urgency is about the fact that there will be a lot of stimulus money available, probably for infrastructure projects, to build our own materials recycling facility here in Monroe County. That's in the trade known as a MRF, and it's where all the processing takes place for recycled materials that are picked up from curbside businesses, industry. We think the time to start is now. The we is me. I'm Robert Lovenheim. I'm a supervisor here in Smithfield Township, and
I'm Jacob Pride, Smithfield Township Supervisor. I believe we have a plan here that'll help our county become a leader in creating jobs, especially high-tech jobs.
And
Carissa Gehring, Marketing and Social Media for Smithfield Township and the Monroe County Municipal Waste Management Authority.
Brian Barrett, our chairman, can't be here today because he's sequestered at home, as is Pat Kelly from Waste Not Technologies. Let's go into a little history of how it evolved, what it is, and why we think we can do better.
Once upon a time, almost all trash collection was done by municipalities. Much of it was in the big cities. We burned or buried everything. Then back in 1975, the town of Branford, Connecticut, opened the first recycling plant. It was a crude series of conveyor belts. In the 1980s, we saw the rise of nationwide trash hauling companies, like Waste Management and Republic. They wanted our business, so they started offering recycling services as part of the deal. Smaller municipalities were only too happy to let them take over the business.
Our Monroe County waste haulers, usually Waste Management or County Waste, pick up recyclables at homes, businesses, and bin locations. The trash trucks go to transfer stations either in Penn Argyl or Blakesley. The recyclables are loaded onto bigger transport trailers called walking trailers and sent farther away to processing facilities called MRFs.
The MRF is key to the operation.
Monroe County and Pike County have no recycling facility. The nearest is in Lehigh County, just north of Allentown.
Now let's look at the recyclables that go into a MRF.
So I got all these this morning before my garbage truck actually came, and it seems there's actually quite a variety of things that they pick up. Some sorts of plastics, aluminums, all sorts of metal, all different kinds. Cardboard, got tons of water bottles. Even piping.
All of these things have value. Each one of these can be recycled and can be made into a commodity that finally becomes a feedstock that becomes new products. But not all of them are recycled. Let's go through the list. Polystyrene, no. Film, no. Aluminum cans, yes. Metal can, yes. Polypropylene, yes. Polystyrene, no. More polystyrene, no. Plastic bags, no. Water bottles, yes, but if you put them in a plastic bag like this, no. These are all right. More plastic film, more plastic foam, egg crates, polystyrene, no. Plastic bags, film, no. So there you have it. That's what's left. And that's what will be recycled at our local MRFs that are controlled by the waste haulers.
What happens to the rest of this stuff?
Straight to the landfill, every piece of it.
There's really no way to recycle the rest of this?
Of course there's a way to recycle the rest of it, but they don't want to recycle the rest of it. We'll talk about that next.
At the MRF, the haulers pay a fee to unload their cargo. It's called a tipping fee. The materials are sorted and baled into 2,000-pound individual bales. The bales are usually sold by broker to processors who will turn them back into raw materials. China and the Far East have always been the biggest market for these bales.
The problem is the processor only wants the lowest hanging fruit, the things that are easiest to recycle. For example, no processor will take plastic bags. Why? because single-use plastic bags, we're told, are not recyclable. But they are recyclable. It's just that the bag gums up the processor's production line, so we're told no plastic bags. And this becomes a mantra. Simon says no plastic bags. So environmentalists say, let's put a tax on plastic bags. Did anyone remember using paper bags in a supermarket? This is far superior. So you see, the rules are really the rules of mass production. Whatever works in the machine is okay. What doesn't is not, even though there are plenty of machines that have been developed that can recycle any of these things. It's kind of like we're back in the days of Henry Ford, where he said, you can have any car as long as it's black. Efficiency in picking up and sorting also did away with curbside sorting. Remember the days when you sorted cardboard, plastic, and aluminum and steel for your curbside pickup? Well, that all went away when we went to what's called single stream pickups. Single stream sorting says, throw it all together and we'll sort it out at the MRF.
So how do you tell apart all the plastics?
Okay, remember, we're keeping our social distance here. Let's see if we can go through this. Everything that you see that you buy has a little number on the bottom. Sometimes it's so small you can't read it, but it'll tell you what kind of plastic it is. And most of these plastics are very common. This is polystyrene. This is, again, high-density polyethylene. Plastic bags, low-density polyethylene. So there's really no difference between this and this, except this will get recycled and this won't. Polystyrene, again, this is polystyrene, this will get recycled, but because this is a bag and it doesn't quite fit in the machine well, it won't. Cardboard gets recycled. Aluminum is one of the success stories of recycling. 50% of all aluminum gets recycled, mainly because the states where there's a tax or let's say deposit on aluminum gives people an incentive to bring it back. The mystery is this: the aluminum producers say 50% is recycled. What happens to the other 50%? Good question.
Steel and metal can also be recycled using magnets to separate it. If you've seen Toy Story 3, you already understand how it works.
So the system the trash haulers evolved was humming along fine, until the Chinese evoked National Sword. The Chinese had been buying bales of our recyclables, and suddenly in 2017, they stopped. They said ours were polluted with other materials, and besides, they are a huge industrial nation with too much of their own trash to worry about. They weren't wrong. We'd been getting away with dirty exports for a long time. Here are 2 bales from 2 different MRFs. Anyone can see the difference between the good and the bad one. The Chinese could too. That started a crisis here in the U.S. Recycled materials used to get about $70 a ton. Suddenly that dropped to $30 a ton, or even less today. $70 was a break-even for the haulers. When the bottom fell out of the market, they started bleeding money on the MRF operations. What is the solution? Raise the prices they charged all of us for picking up our recyclables. They needed to raise prices enough to cover the shortfall between processing costs and commodity values. You could call it a tax, but they call it a fee. Look for big increases in what the haulers are going to charge us. That is, those of us, or most of us, who use their services. There are a few townships that offer recyclable collection stations, but only the twin boroughs have their own collection system.
Stroudsburg and East Stroudsburg run their own collection and sorting operation, and they sell their own baled commodities. The problem is the volume is really only about 1,500 tons a year, which is not enough to make any real money. The county reports about 20,000 tons. That's enough to eventually be profitable, but the question is, how long is eventually? Here's some figures provided by Pat Kelly at Waste Not Technologies. He calculates break-even in 8 years.
But Jacob, that's assuming that we can convince the waste haulers to tip at our MRF. But even if they do that, there's no guarantee that what they give us is going to be pure enough for us to get the best prices on it.
The twin borough model, where they pick up curbside themselves in their own trucks, is perhaps the best way to ensure the quality of what's picked up. Perhaps even an Amazon Prime-like franchise.
If we picked up ourselves or if we hired franchisers to do it, we could probably control the quality of what we get. And we could create a lot of jobs.
The solution is probably a pilot curbside pickup program. We are pioneering here. Unless the government and nonprofit money cooperates with us, America is never going to find another way to reclaim these commodities. And we don't have to wait for the Chinese to buy again. Here's a list of Pennsylvania companies that are willing to buy these recyclables right now. And if the recyclables are sorted properly, they're worth significant money.
In February, I was at the National Plastics Recycling Show in Nashville. 4,000 people showed up. They represent companies from all over the world that have created new ways to shred, dice, and slice plastic and make it into anything we want. They have a self-imposed goal of recycling 35% of the plastics in the United States by 2025. Right now, they're at 13%.
For the first time in many years, American investors are buying or building paper mills to handle only cardboard. Thank you, Amazon. If we built our own MRF operation, we could process all county recyclables. It would be a high-tech facility with optical sorters that can tell one kind of plastic from another by spectral analysis, and robot pickers that can sort 4 times faster than humans and don't get tired. And these facilities are not garbage dumps. Everything inside, everything is inorganic. No rats, no flies. And it should be on a main road, just off of Interstate 80, where everyone can drive by and see what's going on. We've got a few sites in mind, one in Smithfield or expanding the East Stroudsburg Operations Center.
Do you know there are already apps in development that can sort your garbage for you? You can point this at things and it'll say what it is and whether it's recyclable or not. This is all coming.
The vast majority of Americans, especially people my age, definitely see recycling as a way to help the environment and live sustainably.
We've got to have an alternate source of revenue that goes directly to the townships. The MRF can be something that does that. There are ancillary businesses that we could do with our own MRF. For instance, car batteries. We're going to electric cars, we know that. The batteries will last about 8 years. What happens to them after that? Here's this little Tesla Model S. The batteries from this can be used for solar power. Just because they can no longer work in a car after 8 years doesn't mean they're useless. Electronics. Nobody will take electronics. There's a firm outside of Boston that's been in business for 50 years that recycles electronics. If they could stay in business for 50 years, it must be pretty good business. If we're specializing in that, it's another source of income for us.
So what kind of a world do you want to live in when this pandemic crisis is over? Less pollution, more sustainability? This MRF is our chance, so let's push forward now. Money's never going to be cheaper.
This is the time to get ready to apply for grants and loans that could make this happen. Back in December, we published a little booklet about this. Anybody who wants it will be glad to send it to you.
One of the reasons I ran for office in Monroe County is because people my age don't see a future here. Something historic like this MRF is something that'll keep more people here. It will give them a future, and perhaps even convince East Stroudsburg University to create a major base off of it.
Next step will be a feasibility study to get all the facts and figures on this kind of an enterprise. And remember, this is something where we need all the townships to be involved.
Let's build now toward the future.
Thanks for joining us and watching. For more information, follow us at Smithfield Township PA on Facebook and all social media. Our website is smithfieldtownship.com. And for more information on that booklet,
You can email our front desk at lynn@smithfieldtownship.com.